Let's finish the mock draft, though, Mark, with 22 through 32. And let's get right started. Let's go right started. I say that every time and it makes no sense. Let's get right started here. Yeah. Let's start with yours. Number 22, who are the Bills taking via the Chiefers?
So the Bills with Calvin Ridley, wide receiver out of Alabama. The Patriots, Lamar Jackson, the quarterback out of Louisville. Then we got the Panthers, Cortland Sutton, wide receiver, SMU. Then to the 25 Titans, Harold Landry, the edge, Boston College, Daron Payne. Defensive tackle, Alabama, going to 26 Falcons. Connor Williams, offensive lineman out of Texas, going to the Saints. The Steelers at 28, going to Mason Rudolph, the first time I've ever had him in the first round. Quarterback out of Oklahoma State. The Jaguars at 29 with Christian Kirk, wide receiver, Texas A&M. Then we got your Vikings at 30 with Billy Price, the corner guard, whatever, Ohio State. Then the Patriots at 31 again with Mike Hughes, cornerback, Central Florida. And finally, the Eagles going with DJ Moore, wide receiver out of Maryland.
The only ones that had Mason Rudolph in the first round was our 2.0 and 3.0. I had him going to the Saints.
Yeah.
It's the only time we've ever seen Rudy in the, Rudolph. I'm not going to call him Rudy. I said it and I was like, that just sounds
weird. It's fun. Rudy.
That we've seen Mason in the first round. But going to mind the Bills, I almost said the Chiefs, but the Bills going with Calvin Ridley, wide receiver out of Roll Tide. Then Jair Alexander, the cornerback from Louisville, going to the Patriots after they get the pick from the Rams. Rasheem Green, the defensive end from USC, going to the Panthers. He's a first-time first-rounder in one of our mock drafts. Then Daron bringing the Payne, defensive tackle from Alabama, going to the Tennessee Titans. Friend of the show, Mo Hurst, going to the Falcons out of Michigan. Saints going with offensive tackle Mike McGlinchey, the tackle from Notre Dame. Steelers going with Justin Reed, the safety from the Stanford Cardinal. Jaguars going with DJ Moore, the wide receiver out of the Maryland Terrapins. Vikings going with Orlando Brown, offensive tackle, Oklahoma. Then to end things off, Connor Williams, the offensive lineman from Texas, going to the Patriots. And the Eagles going with Dallas Goedert, the tight end from South Dakota State. I want to ask you about your Steelers, though.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph, why?
So here's the thing for Mason Rudolph. Part of it's just purely the Steelers need to think about the future. They need to think about the future, pretty much every year for the last 3 years now. Big Ben's only going to be around for so long. Now, the other thing with the Mason Rudolph pick really, for me, just came down to, I looked at the Steelers and I looked at some of their needs and I was thinking, a little bit of a reach for some of these picks, so I'm going to go with Mason Rudolph. I'm going to get the fifth-year option on this quarterback because I really don't know how long Big Ben's going to be around. I want to go ahead and do this and make sure I have a chance. And Rudolph is one of those interesting ones, quarterback-wise, where parts of his game, sure, I can see him as a first-rounder. Other parts of his game, I'm not sure. The problem is what everyone's going to be scared about, air raid. People are scared of air raid quarterbacks, and they kind of should be, because all they do is get the ball out fast, many, many times. That doesn't really give you enough to really see what they're capable of, but I mean, he's got the size, he's a prototypical build, he's got a really nice arm, he's got a lot of pieces you can work with, and I think the Steelers, they've got enough pieces if they had to use them right now, where they could use some of those air raid concepts in the NFL.
Today when I came home for lunch from work, I was watching NFL Live, and Todd McShay was talking about Mason Rudolph because he says, I like him as a prospect, but the thing that he said was that he's got to go to the right coaching staff. Because of that air raid thing, he's got to go to the right coaching staff to work out the kinks and work with his potential. If he goes to the wrong coaching staff, they'll ruin him, and he won't be anything in the NFL. That's why, for me, whenever I've put him in the first round, it's been to the Saints. It's because of what they, like, Sean Payton, offensive guy, will be able to work with him. And I'm not saying that the Steelers would not. My question is, the Steelers, if I'm going in the first round, I like where you are right now, Mason Rudolph isn't a guy to me that, like, if he sits this year and Big Ben retires and he has to start next year, is he going to be ready in time to start next year? Or am I just going to throw Landry Jones out there? Am I going to throw Joshua Dobbs out there and Mason Rudolph sits for a second year? That's why, for me, I'm thinking more on the other side for the Steelers of the fact of let's go with, really, it's linebacker safety at this point, but looking at it, there's not a linebacker that I would take this late. That's why, to me, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go with a Justin Reed, kind of switching it up from the Ronnie Holiday, because watching film, I'm now like, I'm leaning towards Reed now over Harrison, although both of them are great picks. That's the only thing for me with the Steelers is, yes, the Big Ben concern is there because really he's on the 1-year program.
Yeah.
Of like at the end of the year, I'll see how I feel and I might come back.
I just feel like for the Steelers, they're in one of these difficult situations. Patriots are kind of in the same one. That's why I had them go with Lamar Jackson.
What gets you past Jacksonville and New England, though? A quarterback or a safety? What gets you past them this year? A linebacker or a quarterback?
I honestly think that your team, the way it is set up, an offensive team now, which is what the Steelers are, they should be able to get past them on their own. And I don't necessarily know that you're where you are at 28.
They should have beat Jacksonville last year, but Jacksonville just outplayed them.
A linebacker or a safety, the ones you're going to get at 28, they might not be the kinds that are going to make enough of a difference for you. Where I'm sitting there saying a quarterback, if Big Ben retires next year, our team is screwed. Our team is going to lose about maybe 2-3 years at least.
Yeah. Well,
because I don't believe in Landry. I don't believe in Dobbs. I don't believe
either.
in them.
I don't either. And that's why, to me, it's like with the whole quarterback thing is taking Rudolph here, is that really much better than taking quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round?
It depends on if you think that a guy's going to be there you like. You know, and that's the hard thing. If like they've got Falk or something like that, if he's going to be there, if you like him,
he could be there in the 3rd.
But the way this is all kind of going with, potentially 6 quarterbacks going in the 1st round, unless nobody drafts a quarterback in the 2nd round, nobody drafts a quarterback in the 3rd round.
I think there's going to be such a scramble for quarterbacks in the 1st round. It's just going to die down because I think how this draft is, the talent at the top, there's like there's 6 guys that are going to be 1st, 2nd rounders for sure. And that's the 6 that we've talked about today, with Mason Rudolph being the 6 for me. Then there's guys like a Luke Falk, who it's like, he's going to be either 2 or 3, but where is he going to go? Then there's guys like, there's the Kyle out of, I'm going to look it up actually for his last name. Not going to be able to pronounce it correctly because I never can, but it's like, okay, so you got Darnold, Rosen, Mayfield, Jackson, Allen, and Mason Rudolph. Those guys are for sure the best quarterbacks in this draft. But then there's guys that could be 2 second, third day guys, like a Mike White out of Western Kentucky, Luke Falk out of Washington State, a Kyle Luletta from Richmond, Riley Ferguson, who's from Memphis. There are these different guys, and it kind of, to me, looking at the quarterbacks, it's here's the guys up front. If you get one of the top 7, you're good. Yeah. Then there's like the 3, Mike White, Luke Falk, and Kyle Luletta, where it's like, cool, if we get one of them, they're projects, but they're okay. And then after that, there's a cliff.
It's just one of those.
It's just a cliff.
It's one of those difficult things, too, with this, is you're a team like the Steelers. You lucked out for a long time with a Big Ben. Or, I mean, the Patriots can be right in the same conversation with Tom Brady. And they are one of those difficult ones where I'm hoping they're not necessarily delusioned, but if they haven't fallen prey to the idea of, well, Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. That doesn't happen. Tom Brady is one of the only ones that happens for. There are very few Russell Wilsons. You get them in the 3rd round and you're good. Derek Carr, same way in that case, for these recent quarterbacks. Very few quarterbacks who are successful in the NFL don't come in the 1st round. Successful quarterbacks more often than not come in the 1st round. And I'm not saying that just drafting Mason Rudolph in the 1st round therefore makes him that way. Yeah. But I'm just saying that if the Steelers wait, then I don't think they're going to be able to get a guy like this.
They won't.
Who's top quality.
To me, if the Steelers
Or
want
higher quality.
if the Steelers want a quarterback in this draft,
Mm-hmm.
because I'll be honest, spoiler alert, in my full 7-round mock draft, they kicked that can down to next year. Because to me, looking at the quarterbacks, there's the top 7, like I said. Like, for me, for the Steelers, it's if you want a quarterback, you take Mason Rudolph in the first, or you pray to God with the second or third round pick, you get Luke Falk.
Mm-hmm.
That you get one of those two guys, because other than that, the other guys, White and Luletta, I don't really like them as fits for the Steelers just because of the kind of projects that they would be. Then after that, it's like, I'm drafting a quarterback, but this guy is like, I'm throwing a dart at the board. I don't know if I don't think he's ever going to be a starter. He'll probably be a backup for me, but he's never going to pan out to anything. And that's why I say that cliff just falls after those 3, Falk, White, and Luletta. One thing I want to ask you, and I want to ask you this based on my mock draft, because you have Jarius Geis going in the 20th pick to the Rams. Let's say Geis doesn't go.
Lions.
To the Lions.
Yeah.
Let's say that Geis doesn't go. Who did I say? I didn't say Lions.
You said Rams.
I said
They're not
Rams.
even in the first
They're
round.
not even in the first round. To the Lions. Let's say Geis doesn't go. You're talking about my mock draft.
Yep.
Who would you rather pick at 28 for the Steelers between Darius Geis or Mason Rudolph? Would you still pull that quarterback? Or would you say if Geis was there, you know what? Let's go with this running back because of what's going on with Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what they feel Le'Veon Bell's going to do, because
to me, Geis is an early second-round prospect.
last one in mock draft 4.0, that's exactly what I did. I had them take Geis because of Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
And I did that as the pressure, because my thought was either Bell comes back and great, now look at these multiple running backs I have. Or it's just, all right, fine, don't play. Go ahead and retire.
Yeah.
You know? Because he claims he's not going to play unless he's got a long-term deal. So it's a very difficult situation on there. In that case, it really depends on what they feel they're going to, and if they really believe him or not. I probably would be more inclined to take the running back in that case, because you just don't know if Le'Veon Bell, if he is going to play or not.
No, and I'd be in the same boat of I would take the running back. Like, obviously, I'm going safety over running back, obviously, because that's what I did. But if I'm sitting there and you gave me the choice, quarterback or running back for the Steelers there, if Geis is there, I'm taking him over Mason Rudolph, just because that to me is more of a need because of Le'Veon Bell. Big Ben to me, barring injury, is here for at least one more year, maybe another one. I can kick that can down the road.
It's just a scary thing to do, because then you're looking at like a 2-14 year or something like that coming up.
Then you're at the top and you can get probably one of the best quarterbacks in next year's draft.
So you hope. I want to move on, though, to the other team we're going to talk about here. We kind of talked about them last week, the Patriots. Yeah.
Do they do they make the picks or do they trade up? Because the rumors are they're taking these picks to move up for a Josh Rosen or something.
It really makes sense for them to make this move. And on which one? NFL Network, Good Morning Football. They were talking about the Patriots, and they were. I was not really. If you guys haven't noticed, I've had the TV on in the background on these sport channels quite a bit in recent days, and
working from home a lot these days.
Exactly. As I sit there and I do a mock draft and playing something else for MVP. You guys will find out all about that maybe later.
Ooh, that's the first time I'm hearing about this.
Teasers.
Unless this is not something.
No,
that
you
you've
know
told
what
me
it is.
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me after then. Tease you guys. I just forgot. Now I'm excited.
Yeah, right. It's getting really exciting this week. What's her name? Kay something is her last name or something like that. The one from Chicago.
Good morning.
On Good Morning Football. She was talking with Mitch Trubisky just the other day. I sent that picture in the group chat. There's a picture of her giving Mitch those eyes, and I was like, oh.
Kay Adams?
Kay Adams. Yeah, first name, not last name. And I'm like, Mitch, there you go.
Because you got Kay Adams, you've got then the Nate Burleson. I like Nate Burleson.
Yeah, I do too.
But Peter Schrager, and then Kyle Brandt.
I don't really like the other two guys, but I like Kay and Nate.
Who's
the third? Well, no, I like Nate Burleson.
Okay.
I don't like the other two that much.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, the reason I bring
Peter's
this
always
up,
doing written articles for ESPN.
yeah, the reason I bring this whole thing up, and went off on a sidetrack was they brought up the question of is oh, now I'm completely off. The guy who didn't go to the Colts.
The guy who did go to the Colts this
did
year?
not go to the Colts this year and was the coach of the
Josh
Broncos.
McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels. It's getting late here in the MVP studio. You know,
We still got
is
another
Josh
podcast to record,
McDaniels
too.
going to be in the room to say, guys, you made me a promise, make good on this promise and get me a quarterback? You know, is that going to be, or is Bill Belichick, because I'm kind of assuming that this promise meant Bill Belichick is going to be out the door soon.
Yeah.
Probably with Tom Brady. But anyways, that's a different story. You know, how much of that promise was really made, or is Bill Belichick going to not necessarily be selfish, but be very, I don't care about you kind of a way, which basically I just said selfish, to say, yeah, I don't care. I want my cornerback and I want a running back or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, or a defensive end or something. It's going to be very interesting to see that dynamic of, are they actually for once going to look beyond Tom Brady years and Bill Belichick years? Or are they going to do what they like to do in the Patriots, which is, I want to win right now.
Draft for this next year and going on.
Exactly. And it works for them because they do very, very well with the draft.
Well, and I mean, for me, that's because we didn't do trades. That's one thing that next year we might change. I'm on the side of I don't like trades in a mock draft only because I don't like predicting those things. I just like seeing the order and what it is.
Yeah, and when I feel like in a lot of mock drafts, when people predict trades, it just becomes what
crazy.
they want. Like, they just try and do things because they think it's interesting.
But for the Patriots, like, the two best things is, it's funny, our first pick, we both have them going with Louisville players.
Yeah.
Mine is only because Lamar Jackson's not there. Sean's really going to like your pick when he finds it for
he would love it.
Lamar Jackson to the Patriots. But my two things was, what do they need? Offensive line help. Connor Williams is a guy. He's probably going to be slotted as a guard, but can play tackle as well. And then Jair Alexander, who's a cornerback. You need to help that defense out. And I even wonder if, and this will lead me into the last thing I was going to ask about for this segment, will the Patriots make, the reason why they traded that is, let's try to trade up, but if they can't, all right, let's make the first one at 32, trade back the one at 31, like the Patriots love to do.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you is the Browns, bringing them kind of backdooring into this segment. They've got picks at 33 and 35 in the second round. First off, what do you think the odds are the Browns take those two picks, try to package them to trade back into the first round to get three players, kind of like what they did last year when they took Garrett, Peppers, and David Njoku?
Yeah. First of all,
Njoku.
I wonder with the Patriots, because the Patriots don't trade up in the first round.
It'd be weird.
I wonder if the entire AFC says, no, screw you guys, you're not getting another quarterback and dominating this
They would
conference.
have to trade with an NFC team.
Yeah, and they're like, not going to happen. But anyways, I wonder if for the Browns to make a trade up, I just wonder what it would be that they want. You know, and for them to have gotten their quarterback already and either have gotten a, offensive line, defensive line, running back, or who knows what's going to be, defensive back. I feel like they would have addressed some good needs. I don't know that they would trade up, especially because I know you can get a fifth-year option on a guy, and that's really nice, but you have two guys you have fifth-year options on already, so you're in good shape there. I just sit there and I wonder, like, I look at my draft and I'm thinking, well, I didn't have them go with any help on the defensive line, which I know they would rather have an edge rusher, but friend of the show, Mo Hurst, in mine, he fell out of the first round.
Why?
I wouldn't mind that.
Why?
Why? Just kind of did. I mean, it really what it came down to. I mean, you look at the Daron Payne defensive tackle who's going at 26. They were just kind of slipping. I mean, I had guys like Geis and Lander Ash come up. Even Calvin Ridley was slipping.
I'll be completely honest. We didn't get this way in a mock draft, but in the PTP on a big board, I had Mo Hurst fall out of the top 25 when that heart condition thing came up.
Yeah.
And then it was, he's medically cleared. Everything's okay. Okay, he's back up into my top 25 of players.
Yeah, and I'm not too worried about that necessarily, but I definitely had some new guys come into the first round that pushed some of my staples like Mo Hurst out.
Yeah, and that like Darius Geis probably pushed some guys
Geis
back.
is in there. Price came back in. Brian O'Neill. He's in here, and I don't know. I'm not positive if NFL teams really are going to view him as that first round pick.
But you like him.
I like him. Yeah. I like him. So that's some of those interesting things
I
right
like
there.
him. That's all I care about.
It's my mock draft.
Yep.
And I just think of the Browns, and I'm like, I don't know that they need to trade up, into the first round. Unless they really want a fifth-year option on, in this type of case, maybe it's Connor Williams or something like that.
Because here's what I'm thinking, and I'm going off of my mock draft. Browns take quarterback at 1. Then they go ahead and take a Saquon Barkley at 4. What's the one thing they could have taken it for, but they didn't?
Could have taken a guard, could have taken defensive end.
Cornerback. Could have taken a Minka, could have taken a Denzel. What I am thinking is, let's say Jair Alexander either falls past the Patriots or right before the Patriots. If the Browns go, we're going to take a quarterback, we're going to go ahead and take a running back, then we're going to package, because they got 3 picks in the second round. They could package any of those 2 for a first-round pick. Trade up. Hey, let's get a Jair Alexander in the late first. There we go. We get the cornerback that we want, and we don't have to wait for it. Now, the thing is, if they trade those top 2 picks, don't expect them to take a Darius Geis with any of those because they won't have them. And I think, honestly, unless, and this is just me, if Cleveland doesn't take, and I know it would be if they didn't take Saquon at 4, if they don't take Geis at the first pick of day 2, he ain't going to be there for the next pick because the Giants are going to snatch him up in between, unless he's like yours and goes before that, and a team like the Lions are like, screw it, we need a running back, and we really like this kid. Any other teams in this bottom half of the draft that you think, or anything that you're looking at like, we didn't touch, but I want to touch this really quick?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think there's some interesting ones in there, especially with the way both of our drafts work. A lot of pass catchers fell.
Yes.
And there's teams like the Eagles and like the Jaguars that would love it.
And that's the thing.
Even the Saints, maybe.
Wide receiver to me is so saturated in this draft to where you've got guys like Alan Lazar that you can probably get in the 4th, 5th round. You got guys like Equiminius St. Brown. You got Lansley, who he's the kid out of UCLA that you can get probably in the later rounds. You can get Anthony Miller, who will probably be a 3rd round guy, to where it's like, okay, do we really need that wide receiver in this first round, or can we go back? Because like the Jaguars, I had them go wide receiver here just because it's like DJ Moore's too good to pass up.
Yeah.
But as I was doing my 7-rounder, I was like, wow, there's a lot of wide receivers. Let me go back and visit this.
Yeah, and I don't think you had Christian Kirk go in the first round.
No, I didn't. I have him going a little later.
There's your Chicago Bears fans who are like, oh no, we lost Cam Meredith. There's a lot of wide receivers here.
There's a lot of wide receivers. Like,
we'll be all right.
The Bears, and this is just for them. I know the Outcasts will probably touch on the Cam Meredith thing more, but you can get a wide receiver in the 4th round and still be happy with them.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think. And there's some positions that are like that. There are other positions that are very small where it's like, hey, we got to get this guy early.
Exactly.
The one thing that I think is going to be interesting, and this is just me here at the end because I did the full 3-round, is a team like the Rams. No 1st-round pick, no 2nd-round pick. Your first pick isn't until the 23rd pick of the 3rd round now.
Yeah.
That's your first pick. So that, to me, is very interesting.
I really hope this year is good for them because they're all in.
How would you feel if your team, let's say, similar roster as the Rams, obviously, and you didn't have a 1st or 2nd round pick in your first pick? Your first pick was in the 3rd, so they have a 3rd, then 3 4ths, and then 4 6ths. That's what they got.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really kind of hoping maybe we make some magic happen, get in the 2nd round or something to give us something. it's one of those, it's one of those situations where you're not happy about it because you want something to happen in the draft.
Yeah.
It's never fun when your team is not participating.
Or keeps trading back and back and back.
You want one of these high profile type of ones, but there is value to, rounds 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yes.
7. That's where you get a lot of the depth of your team. And if you don't have depth, your team falls apart pretty quickly once people get injured. So, let the GMs do what they do. You're not happy about it in the offseason. You're really happy about it when your team is good.
When you're winning games and you're in the playoffs and you're happy about it. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know down below what you guys think of our mock draft. A little housekeeping here at the end. You like what we do, want to make sure we can keep doing it. Make sure to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Christian's going to be on next week. Probably wants to talk Jordan Howard, I think he was saying. So we're going to talk about that. You want to be like Christian, check out the Patreon link down below. Also, if you want the shirt Mark is wearing, Mark showed off. Yeah, that cool MVP shirt. That store link is also down below in the description. MVP, mostvaluablepodcast.com. I always keep doing that. I want to say MVP for short. We don't have that domain. It's mostvaluablepodcast.com.
I don't know who does, but it's not
That's
us.
where we put everything each and every day.
Oh,
And
it's
then-
actually CBS Sports. Okay.
And then last but not least, make sure to, what's the last thing I always say? Oh, that's right. Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Make sure to give us a 5-star rating. It will really help the onside kick out. Want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening on podcast services around the world. And as always, have a good day, everybody.